Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Breakfast with Bobbi. I am your co-host, Christina Bloom. I'm here with Bobbi Cleveneau, who is my co-host, and we are here with our good friend, Steve Polifka, today. We haven't actually seen Steve in quite some time, so this is a good time for us to reconnect and have some fun. And we were talking a little bit before we went on the air here, just to kind of get everybody in the groove and comfortable. And so, welcome, Steve and Bobbi. I believe you've got some information you can share with us about him.
I do. Hey, welcome, Steve. We've known
Good to
each
be
other
here.
for, oh, we've known each other for quite a while. And yeah, we've both been kind of off the beaten path doing life stuff, but I wanted to introduce you to our audience because you are such a gifted channel, and although you may or may not be doing some of that anymore, I just think that you have a really interesting history and skill that a lot of people don't know about. And the people that do absolutely love you. So I'm just going to read a little synopsis and then we'll take it from there. So, um, Steve's entire life, long before the dawn of the New Age movement and the overabundance of credible and not so credible manifestation teachings, he was independently asking, why not me? If we create our own reality, why can't I manifest the life that I want? It is after asking these questions while living what he thought was a normal life that everything fell apart in less than a year. He was downsized at work, his relationship ended, and he was cheated by a business partner. After a great deal of inner work and guidance, he went to a local nature preserve with his shaman teacher and literally poured his heart out to a tree. And to his complete surprise, the tree spoke to him and did several other entities that day. So, because this has really poked at me, I am a tree hugger and a tree talker as well. But I have to tell you, Steve, you probably are the person that motivated me to really sit with trees. And ever since then, that was years ago, several years ago, I've had discussions with many trees. Um, but I just wanted to, oh my God, I'm just so excited that you're here. We love having you. And one of the things I know several years ago, we met up in Salem. Now I'm going there for a trip with Kristina and a bunch of other people. And lo and behold, surprisingly, you were hired to come over and read. And there you were. I hadn't seen you in years. So what a great surprise that was.
That was a pretty awesome day, I have to
Oh
say.
my,
I was
we,
surprised to hear from you guys saying that you were there. And I
I
had just moved there months before.
Yeah,
I,
I
I
think I had like messaged you on Facebook or something and said we're going to be near Salem. Do you want to come and do a channeling for my
you know,
friends?
I remember hugging you for a very long time. And someone that was with us on the trip said to me, you must know him pretty well. Like there was some innuendo. And I said, we do know each other pretty well, but it's not that. So we
Right.
just missed each other.
Yeah.
So I'm so enamored with your skills. And I know that we all shift from time to time and come in and out of, our own realities and other skill levels and try other things. And thus, my tree talking stuff. And can you tell me a little bit more about that? I love that.
About that time.
Yeah, about the tree thing. And
Okay.
and then and then I'd like you to touch a little bit on um the Angel Boys, because I know you do an article about that periodically, and how that whole thing worked for you and just your experience.
So that instance, the tree talking thing. My shaman teacher is Jojo Pa Ansaroma. You can look her up on Facebook and find her. She's an Afro American and Native American shaman. I met her through other friends and through another minister who was teaching metaphysics. He held a meditation class and he was taught by her as well. So after meeting her, I decided to get a reading from her. So I went and got a reading and she told me all this stuff. She said, your relationship's going to fall apart. This is going to happen. And you're going to become a trans medium. And I'm like, oh, yeah, right, whatever. you know. Not that I didn't believe her, but I didn't see it at all. And I had not come into my gifts at that point. Well, literally within months, all these things happened. Within a year, I was her student.
Mm.
So I think it was the following year, like 2009, when the whole journey to the forest preserve happened. She took me there and she said, I said, where's this place? She goes, you don't need to know that. You just need to walk in the forest with me. So we walked in the forest. She stopped me at this tree, and there was the remnants of a stairway there, like 2 or 3 cement stairs. She says, I'll be back. I want you to talk to this tree. So she wanders off into the wooded area, and I'm thinking, like, what the heck am I doing here? I've talked to my plants before, so that was not unusual for me to talk to a tree, because I love trees. And so I started talking to this tree, and I just started pouring my heart out to it. I thought, well, at least this is good therapy, right? So I continued to talk to this tree, and all of a sudden I just stopped and I just sat there, and I heard it talk back to me. And I can't remember what it said, but it just was telling me about how it was there through all the stuff that had happened in this area. And that I was not alone in my journey, that I could feel it. I heard the words, but it was also a feeling. I could feel the consciousness of the tree like I never felt before. And I've always felt comfortable in wooded areas. I always loved nature. So I just thought it was a thing. I was just connected to Mother Earth, right? But this was very different. And it was the only tree that talked to me that day. But I was so filled with awe and wonder, and all my sadness and anger disappeared. And I then remember Jojo Pa coming back and asked me how I was, and she could see the difference on my face. And we continued to walk this area. This area had been a military place. I saw the past overlaid upon the present, where, like I said, we stood by 2 stairs, but there was no other remnants of a building there. Well, this place was around for a long time. I saw Native Americans. I saw Indians attacking a covered wagon. I saw people being hung. There was a military prison there at one time. I saw all this stuff overlaid like transparencies on the landscape. There's a pond there. I saw water spirits coming up. This Native American chief was talking to me and telling me the history and all this other stuff. And so I'm telling Jojo Pa all this. What they're telling me, I was relating to her in real time. And walking to the car, we get to the car and she looks at me and says, Steve, you've opened up to listening. Now you have to learn to shut it off. So
That is important. I have to say, it is
is.
important to know how to shut it down.
he would have followed us home and continued to talk to me and tell me.
Right.
He wanted to talk so bad because no one had listened to him. He had never talked to a live person who could hear him. I knew that instinctively, and what I saw, and I knew nothing about this place, right? So it related all these things that I saw as overlays. She was telling me the history of this place. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is all real. This is real. It was not my imagination. She told me nothing about the place when we got there. So it was the start, and through many teachings and time spent with Jojo Pa, this developed into me talking to other beings.
So I have a question
Sure.
about you said that you were a trans medium. What is the difference between a trans medium and a regular medium? I'm a medium. That's what they tell me. But
It is the term that Jojo Pa used. I'm not really sure about it. I think it means you go into trance.
okay, that makes sense.
That's what I used to do when I channeled the angel voice. I mean, some of the first beings I talked to many beings before them. But if you, I don't know, in my bio, if I tell the story about how I met them, they were sent to protect me to do this work.
Oh.
One of them was a Knights Templar. The other was always an angel, as
Oh my gosh.
we know angels to be.
Mhm.
And they were sent to me to protect me. They introduced themselves, and I've written about all this. I'm not sure if I put it in the bio, but it will be in my book if I ever get it finished.
I
And
feel that. I feel that
It takes
deep. I've
takes a
got
couple
2 in the
years
works
to write
right
books.
now, and they are not
right,
finished. Yeah.
right. So it was a friend of mine named Jill who I'm not sure how I met her. It could have been through this meditation class I was taking. She's the one who prompted me to go public with them. And I said, I'm not going to do this until I know I'm not full of crap.
Mhm.
So it took a long time, and I would do readings for my brother and do things, just spontaneously with people. And when I found out that they were right on the money, then I said, yes, I can do this. So I channeled them for many years. And then I had this opportunity to go to Salem. You saw me last. And Salem was psychic boot camp. Since I'd always been channeling and never used my own abilities, what happened was the integration of the angels and my own abilities merged during my 2.5 years in Salem. So I got to be very good at doing readings and reading energy. And they were always by my side. They still are. Sometimes they'll just tell me about people when I'm sitting there in front of them. They'll give me a lot of information. Sometimes they don't say much at all, or sometimes they might add something at the end of the reading, but they're always there. And sometimes I will ask them for help. I'm like, okay, I'm seeing this. What does this mean? I might need some understanding. But now I've integrated my own mediumship abilities and talking to angels. And I sometimes talk to my clients' angels, or they talk to me, I should say.
Mhm.
And that's the evolution of my abilities.
That's
So
pretty cool.
it's so very cool. I know you and I have you have read for me a number of times, and I've been in circles where you were reading for the crowd. And the last time that we did that, I remember they came and they said, "Oh yeah, I remember you." So how fun is that you can actually do that? I think it's really interesting that you have integrated all of that, that you can ask them for help and they're always there. Right now, I just feel this really strong, calm presence here. And I can look at your face, and the color of your face has actually changed since we started the show. So I also, I honestly, I've been stalking you online for a while, knowing what you're doing. And you are into art. You are a
Yes.
painter of some sort.
Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
that's interesting. Can I just interject here?
yeah,
The
please.
last time that I talked to Steve, I was in Plattsburgh, New York, and he was telling me about a painting he had been working on. I think it was the Eiffel Tower painting.
Yes, that
Oh,
was
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a few years ago.
2 years ago. Yes, I
Two
was
years
painting
ago.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. I was in upstate New York for the um, Elizabethtown Fairy and Magical Creatures
I
Festival.
remember that. I remember that
Yeah,
conversation. Yes.
that was pretty cool. Yeah, that was the
You were
last time
having a great time.
I did have a great time on that trip. But I was going to ask about the art too, but Bobby beat me to it.
Oh, well, take it away. Just,
Ironically, that painting is now becoming prints. I got the first comp yesterday,
Awesome.
first proof yesterday. So in a week or so, I'm going to have prints for sale of that.
Congratulations.
so did you paint that? Did you draw that? Was it a replication of a picture?
Replication of a picture my brother-in-law took when my sister and he were there. And I jokingly said to her, well, when you come back, I'll paint a painting for you. Give me a nice picture of Paris.
Oh my.
So of all the pictures I looked at, he had taken this on a moving bus. So in the picture, it looked like there was a fleet of UFOs over the Eiffel Tower. It's really just the bus lights reflection in the windows. It was taken at night. And I saw the form of it. And I said, that's a painting. So I have a degree in graphic design, which I didn't do anything with. I always loved music, so my visual art went to the wayside. I've done nothing in 30 years. And woman I worked at a crystal shop just one day a week. And she was a massage therapist there, but she was also a painter, fabulous painter. So we got to talk, and I said, yeah, I'd like to do visual art. I had this like vision in my head that I was going to paint this winter. And I said, I don't know how that's going to come. I need to make some money and buy some art supplies. And she says, oh, my ex has all this stuff I gave him. He's not using it. Would you like it? And I said, sure. So it was an easel. It was paints. It was brushes. It was everything, and canvas boards to actually paint on. I got all this stuff.
What an incredible gift.
He had come over and we were sitting talking. I was sketching out my first painting, and I actually started painting it while we were talking. It was a little 8x10. And I said, look, if I can do one painting, I'll keep the stuff. If not, I'm going to give it back to you. So I painted the first painting and everyone loved it. And then I painted more paintings. So I didn't really know how to paint. I never took a painting class. I mean, I did drawing classes. I had to paint in school, but it was mainly graphic art stuff. So it wasn't like fine art. So what I did before I went to bed, during my rituals, I would talk to Mother Earth and Father Sky and Mother Earth about taking care of my body and being a better human being and being more connected to her and honoring her, and Father Sky to give me the inspiration to paint. I said, teach me how to paint this Eiffel Tower. I don't know how. I know technically some things. I watched videos. You can watch all the videos you want. Doesn't mean you're going to be able to paint.
Right.
But it's that trust that you're going to get this inspiration and this knowledge. And I think that knowledge came to me in ways that I don't know. It like was there, but it was translated through my hand, not through a thought. It wasn't a thought form. So I have paintings that I don't know how to finish because I don't know what techniques to use. So I keep on asking Father Sky to inspire me. And this is a prayer I learned from Jojo Pa. Teach me how to paint. I'm open to learning. And it's about staying open to the universe and trusting. And that's the thing we don't do. We as humans don't trust because we've been paying attention to all the 3D stuff, what people tell us, what we've absorbed in the past from growing up. And we still have those things that may keep us locked in. And it's time to let that go. And letting go is the hardest thing to do of anything, especially of our own limitations.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
And it's all about every day. It's all about learning. There is not a time. I got stuck a lot. If you follow me on Facebook, you know how stuck I was this last year, how much drama I went through and trauma. But all that is releasing. And it was a hard journey. And am I a bit resentful? Yeah, the human Steve is resentful, yes. But it's all about love, and it's about loving ourselves, but loving other people. They are the best they can be. Sometimes people we're involved with are doing the best they can. And it's remembering that, which I think is important, and staying grounded, remembering that our brain is creating all these stories that are not true.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Ourselves stuffs that are basically lies. Our mind. So I do these Angel Boys messages on Facebook. Most people don't know who I am. Doesn't matter to me. It's about getting their message out. But they've done some messages recently that were about the mind and the stories we tell. A couple weeks ago, it was the stories we tell and the stories we tell ourselves. We make stuff up all the time. And Jojo Pa would remind me of this as I was going through my stuff back then before I opened up to listen to trees.
Right.
Those stories we tell in our minds can stop us from doing amazing stuff. We have to stop believing them. We have to stop imagining that we're being talked about. It doesn't matter if we are not. What matters is staying in the present. And that's really hard for me to do sometimes. I'm going to admit that.
So how do we do that though? How do we change our story? How do we stop listening to that story? How do you stop listening to that story?
Well, one of the things that the boys have told me is that your thoughts are just thoughts. They're not real. They can become reality, but they're not necessarily real. So it's not about holding on to the word lie, because they technically could be a lie, but it doesn't matter. It's about where we are and where our mind and our heart is, and our mind and heart should be working together. So it's remembering that our thoughts are not real. Thoughts are thoughts. They can change. We are not beholden to them. It's just a way that our mind is trying to keep us alive by creating these things. So in the last message, do you mind if I give a little recap of that?
Oh yeah, go
That would be
ahead.
great.
They were talking about how the mind was, how did they put this? When we were back being hunter-gatherers, their minds were acutely aware of all the dangers of animals that they were hunting or trying to tame or trying to gather food or growing food. We don't have that anymore in our life. They had to watch every step they took. They might die, or any human they ran across. We don't have that. So we have all this drama on social media and our television shows and with each other. So then we're creating all these scenarios to help protect ourselves. So if you remember that, these are just things try to keep us alive, and we're reminded ourselves that we're safe right where we are. So a good exercise might be to say, where am I right now? Well, I'm in front of my computer talking to two of my favorite people. I'm not just giving you platitudes, you know that. Both of you for years. And I'm safe. I'm in my apartment. There's nothing threatening me. There's no storms outside. There's no weapons outside. I have plenty of money. I have plenty of food. All my basic needs are met. I am perfectly fine right in this moment, perfectly safe. To get down to that basic element and then go from there. So now what am I going to do? Now it's time to look outward. What do I want to do? Start from that center point. I am safe right where I am. Make note of where you are. If there's an issue, well, then you just trust and tell yourself, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get past this. I'm going to make it through. And I'm going to be okay during that whole journey. It's giving yourself a pep talk all the time. And with what I went through this last 6 months, I kept on telling myself, I'm going to make it through this. I'm going to survive this. I'm going to thrive after this.
Yep.
I can relate to that. Yeah. I know that first of all, 2023 was a big growing year for me, which if you're in the spiritual community at all, you know what it means. It was hard. There was a lot of pain. There was a lot of survival skills that needed to be put in place. And so it is really interesting to me that you're talking about this, because I know I recently went through it too, where I lost two people in my life, one very, very close to me. And it was, as you're going through that and you're processing the grief and you're processing the loss, and your brain is making up stories and asking questions that you either don't have the answer to, or you don't want to answer because you don't like the answer. There's a lot of that happens when we're going through a growth period. And when we can look back at the really hard things and say, I grew through that, that's what it's all about. That's, for me, what it's all about. Do I still accept that is the reason that what happened in my life happened? Absolutely not. I do not believe that's the reason it happened. But that's what I chose to do with it. I could have crumbled onto the floor and just died right there. And I chose not to. And you chose not to. Because grief and loss changes who we are. It's not something you ever get over. it's something you grow through, and something that hopefully makes us better people, hopefully makes us more compassionate people. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it just sucks. And that's the human part of it, right?
Sorry, I don't understand.
Well, I will explain it to that device.
What the heck was that all about?
That was the greatest thing ever.
I know that, like, there is nothing on my phone right now that should have caused that reaction.
Oh,
That is weird.
So Kristina, did you ask the questions like, I really want to know, I really want to understand?
Yes.
I'm going to share a little story about that. I asked the universe for information. Remember when I talked about the painting?
yes.
Asking to teach me how to paint, teach me to understand. So through my journey, I would ask for the information, and I would get it. Wouldn't come when I wanted to, and I also knew that, okay, I knew that it would come at the right time, and perhaps it wouldn't come because it would make me more upset. Like Kristina said, you don't want to hear the answer because it may not be what you want to hear.
Right.
So I will say that I got a lot of information, and even yesterday, I got a lot of information regarding my situation, almost like after the fact, and it helped me let go a lot. I mean, in the last 24 hours, I've been feeling a whole lot different about me and the situation.
You know, what's
So
interesting is the situation that I know you're talking about the end of a relationship.
yes,
I'm talking about the death of my son, and how
it's also an end of a relationship.
also the end of a relationship, but I think in a different way.
Yes,
Very
And
different.
yeah, and so I didn't ask those questions because it didn't matter. It wasn't going to change anything. So for me, it didn't feel like it was going to change anything to ask those questions about why did this happen. The point is, it happened, and I had to learn how to deal with it and move on.
But
You know?
in my experience, I think when you have a problem like that, especially if it's a large problem that has really dug into your heart and you don't know how to handle it, we
Mhm.
get stuck in our head and we tend to ruminate, and it goes over and over and over, and the wheel spins around and around.
Mhm.
And if you can catch yourself and stop the wheel and start doing that positive talking, I'm safe, I have money, I have love, I love myself,
yes,
getting yourself out of the drama. We have everything that we need to
yes,
take care of ourselves.
We do.
The problem that we have is mostly ourselves, because we're
Oh,
stuck somewhere spinning around.
yep.
So go ahead.
I was just going to say, some people need answers, some people don't. Everybody
Right.
has their process.
Yeah.
Sometimes the answers don't help people, sometimes they do. For me, they do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, in the ending of a relationship, because I've been through that too, yeah, those answers helped. I'm just saying, a different situation.
It is a
You
different
know? Yeah.
situation. I lost it. It's
Oh,
not the same as losing a child. I have no children, but
Right.
I lost a very good friend of mine like almost 2 years ago, which was completely out of the blue. And I had been planning to see her like within a week. So that was like oh my God,
What the
what,
hell? Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
It was like, so I'm still in shock over it in a way, but yet I know I wrote this poem to her, and I really felt that she chose. She died in her sleep, and she chose to leave.
yeah.
That's what I felt,
Mhm.
that she had the choice in that situation. But
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a subconscious choice, not a conscious one.
Yeah. I think sometimes my theory on life is that, we come here sort of programmed. We've picked out our path. We've chosen a number of things. And on some wavelength, you do pick whether or not you're coming or going. And I lost a sister who was like my mom and like my sister and like my best friend. And I grieved over that. That was over 20 years ago. So I still miss her. and I still grieve, and I still feel her.
Yes.
So I think she chose too. She worked in the medical field. She had access to all kinds of stuff. She knew what was going on. And I think at some point you choose whether or not you're going to come and go, whether or not it's conscious or at the level of being able to really appreciate it. It is there. I think we're really the ones that are in charge in the first place.
Right.
But again, now we have an ego that gets involved and all kinds of other things. So I really have to give you some kudos because you are a whole lot farther ahead, both of you, than you have been in the past. And knowing the two of you the way that I do, my job in this entire thing was just to make sure that you were safe and to make sure that if I could help you in some way, that I would do that. And honestly, I know, Steve, you and I have not talked in quite a while.
Yes.
But I've honestly, I don't mean to make it creepy, but I watch what goes on in your Facebook page, and I've been following you and just making sure. And sometimes, and I'm here to just mention that, if we think we're in charge, we're not. And the fact that things keep happening, we have the noises in the background with Kristina's phone, and now we have 3 metaphysical people in the same, and things start to happen. All of the static.
Always.
It's crazy. And the reason that you came to mind for this show is I've known for quite a while in my head that you were going to be a most fabulous guest, and you have so much to offer. I just didn't know when. And all of a sudden you appeared on my Facebook page, and I went, it's now. We got to do this now for whatever reason. So, the two of you are just so precious. And I just want to tell you how special you are to me, even though we don't talk every day. Kristina and I live 20 minutes away from each other sometimes. Sometimes we go to breakfast. Sometimes, most of the time, we don't. But for months and months and months, we don't see each other. And then all of a sudden, like you, Steve, we pick up right where we left off.
Yep.
And the vibration that we have together and the friendship and the knowledge we all share, it's still the same, which is an incredible piece of life. And again, I think that the vibration and the spirit of all of this is what makes the hugest difference in life. And if we could say anything to the people out there that are listening to us, keep your friends close. You don't have to talk to them every day, but the whole key to everything is love. It's always love.
Yes.
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 It's an inside job. I know I've been griping about that forever.
Yeah. Yeah, that inside job thing is just a lot of work. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, geez. Sometimes you don't want to be in there.
I know, right? But I just feel like having chosen the path that I've chosen has been such a blessing. And I have met so many amazing people. I know when I reached out to Steve, which is coming up on 7 years ago now, by the way.
Yes, long time.
Yeah, 7 years ago. I don't know what prompted me to reach out to you, except that I saw you were in Salem, and I'm like, oh, that would be a fun thing to do. But before that, we hadn't talked in a long time.
Right.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was a beautiful coming together because you brought some friends with you, and I had some friends with me, and it was just a beautiful coming together of energies.
Wasn't it your birthday?
It was. It was
Yes.
for my birthday, but my birthday was earlier in the month. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I had always wanted to go to Salem. It's always been on my bucket list. And I decided for my 50th birthday, that's what I was going to do. And so I gathered some friends and off we went.
And Bobbi was one of them.
And Bobbi was one of them.
I don't remember the rest of the people who were there.
Oh,
well, we had Sue.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Sue and Marianne. I
remember Marianne more than anything. I remember startling Marianne with my smartass comments. It was I had quite a few wide-eyed looks like, who is this person?
Yeah, and I think we had Sherry too. Sherry was with us, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Bobbi, you can be very formidable.
What does that mean? Formidable.
What's a compliment?
Oh, good.
I mean, the part about you kicking butt is literal.
Mhm. Yeah,
Sometimes,
Sometimes, yes.
yeah.
yeah, sometimes I have to examine myself and say, do I have to take my shoes off for this one, or can I leave them on?
Yep.
Have you still continued with that training?
I, about a year and a half ago, I decided to hang up my belt. And
Okay.
uh, I've had a number of friends that have said to me, I really don't think you should be doing that anymore. And then finally it became quite obvious. I had a little bit of a back issue, and um, I also begrudgingly had to step back because, I'm competitive, and I
Yes.
wanted and I wanted to keep up with the people in the class, despite the fact that uh, my belt rank was uh, in the front of the class. I was not happy about that. And I told him I would be happy to come to class if I could stay in the back and watch. And he, being intuitive, he looked at me and he went, "No, you've earned this and you need to." But my thing about being in the front of the class was I didn't want to look like I couldn't keep up, like I was incapable. And again, that's my ego about everything. I would have been much happier knowing that I didn't have to keep up. And
Mhm.
by rights, he tells me I didn't have to. However, it's a thing. It's my ego. But anyway, I was injured a couple of times. And as you can imagine, after 7 or 8 years of doing that, I've broken a few things and I've stretched a few things and had a few aches and pains.
Yeah.
But all in all, it just became quite obvious that at this age, I should not be doing that board breaking and heavy lifting and
Right.
excessive exercise. So I have the belts hanging on my wall, and I look at them and I smile every time I walk into the room that they're in. But no, I really don't.
Accomplishment.
Yeah, thank you. It really, if I had to examine anything in my whole life of what I was most proud of, it would be that. It was fun. It was exhilarating. And in order to qualify for my black belt I studied in two places. And the second place that I studied, their requirement was that you had to compete in an open competition. And it was a huge thing. And I was so scared. I was so nervous. I had such a performance anxiety. And he came up to me after that and he patted me on the back because I was in first place at that competition. And he said, "And you were worried." But I had the great grandmaster watching me. And I thought, oh my God, the guy who brought Taekwondo to the States is watching little old me. Who the heck am I? Trying to be perfect. But it was, it was unforgettable. And I still cherish it. I cherish all the memories, and I miss him and I miss them. I miss my friends.
I
But
bet.
Yeah.
knowingly, I can stop in there anytime I feel like it. I just have not done it. But at any rate,
Right. That is quite an accomplishment, for
Yes.
sure.
uh, I I swear that I did not do it for the purpose of the accomplishment. In fact, there was a point in time. It was early on, and he said to me, uh, "I think you're doing well." And I said, I'm having fun doing this, but I don't think that I can go much farther than, maybe a yellow belt or something. And he kind of looked at me and he said, "You can go all the way with this." He said, "You can get a black belt." And I said, "Oh, well, I really didn't believe him." And he looked at me and he said, "Well, don't you want a belt with your name on it?" And I went, "Well, I guess that would be cool, but that's not why I'm doing this. Now it's cool to have my name on a belt."
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So
That's cool.
yeah, it's very cool. And I did it particularly for self-defense. And honestly, I still wonder these days if I was ever confronted, would I be able to pull out my skills
I
and
think you
just do
would.
it?
Yeah, I think you would. I think it would be so instinctual, you would just do it.
Yes, I do too. Knowing you.
Oh, well, sometimes we don't know each other the way we think we know each other. Sometimes, the panic of it all. I think people freeze when they become fearful, and knowing and he used to yell at us, well, not yell, but he used to he used to coach us all the time. Don't think, just do. And
Right.
there were a few times when I was in class with some overlying emotional problem. Maybe somebody got hurt or, someone had a stroke or whatever. And he would purposely do things to get us out of our head and knowingly. And he apologized to me one time. He said, I apologize for being hard on you today, but you needed to get out of your head. You needed that. And I'm thinking, good Lord, now I have somebody thinking for me. Isn't that special?
Well, you brought up a good point, is getting out of our heads.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes taking action. I won't say that I'm a procrastinator, but sometimes I'm an overthinker. Well, I will sit and stare at a canvas and like, I want to do this. And I got inspired a couple of weeks ago, and I just like, what the heck am I sitting here for? So I got out my paints, I started mixing colors, I started this whole thing, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know I had it in me lately. No. But it's letting that inspiration come and stopping that thinking that is really important.
I think sometimes we get so far in our head that if we were to take the opportunity that we feel at the time and not have any expectations, because you, with your artwork,
Yes.
thinking, what is this going to be at the end? And what am I going to do with it? Can I sell it? 50 things are going through your head. If you just went out there and pulled the canvas out and said, I'm not going to do anything with it. This is just what I feel. And it's kind of like not having any restrictions and no requirements. Imagine the beauty that you would create just because you know you didn't have to do anything with it.
So I did try that early on when I started painting. I had a canvas board. I threw some paint on it. It was just like, I want to do this. I'm kind of angry. I'm going to throw some crap on it. And it turned out to be this painting I gave to my friend Stacy. It looked like Jesus walking on a hill when I was done with it. It looked like this angel thing. And I realized that I went online. I said, oh, there's lots of art like this. And so it became something else. So through my supposed anger and trying to put out frustration and trying to do something different, it still became a literal piece. So I thought that was an interesting exercise. I thought maybe that's not my forte, is modern art where you throw the brush at the canvas. Maybe I am to be an illustrator, more of an illustrative painter. So I think I learned something about myself with that painting. So yes, going out and just doing it and seeing what happens, you probably learn something about yourself. And you did with your, kicking and breaking boards. All your guts.
I remember a few times, one in particular, that when I felt like no one was watching, that there were about 8 of us. And of course, we would pair up and hold the targets for each other. And he just said, I want you to do as many of this as you can. And it was a certain sequence of moves. And I had gotten such a repetitious sound in my head that I was just going, and it was just automatic. And I could have closed my eyes to continue to do it. And all of a sudden I came to, and I didn't hear anything else other than me. And I stopped and I looked around and I looked at the guys and I went, why did you guys stop? And they said, well, we were watching you. And I'm like, well, let's just continue to have fun. So I understand that when you're in your head, when you forget about what's going on and just perform for the love of it and for the movements, it becomes something of beauty that even you don't understand what it is. So I think you should do more of that.
Oh, I've tried it too. Now this painting has become something else. So yes.
Same with writing.
Yes. It always becomes something else.
It always becomes something else, and it always, at least for me, becomes something better than I ever imagined it would be.
So speaking of writing, when I do the Angel Boys messages, I don't know what they're going to come up with. I don't know. One of my followers commented on the page, gee, maybe these say-sos are for you. And I'm thinking, like, they're always for me. There's never one that I don't relate to. I always wonder like where they came from, or I mean, I only read them like after they're done. I really don't pay much attention while it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Automatic writing. Yeah.
I'm actually not typing. I use a speech to text program.
Okay.
So I literally do channel the message,
Mhm.
and it just flows out. And sometimes they're done really fast. Sometimes it takes a couple hours because they come in segments. But I don't actually do that. And once in a while, I'll glance over them when they're done. Sometimes I just shut the computer off, like I gotta walk away. And the next day I read it, and I was like, sometimes I'm blown away. Sometimes like, oh, geez, I don't get it. For whatever reason, my mind doesn't connect. And then I get all these comments from people. I'm like, okay, they're onto something. And then I can maybe relax and read it
Mhm.
and get my piece out of it, get what I need to
Right.
learn. But there's always a connection to me. So I can never say that, oh, it's just something for somebody else. I thought it was an interesting comment to read today. Like, heck yeah, it's always for me or relating to what I've gone through.
Yeah.
Of course,
At
universal
least,
law of
at least
oneness.
just at least just a little part of it anyway.
Mhm.
And I felt sometimes that they were talking about my life and we're putting it out to the public. And I thought, well, what, is that what they're doing? But apparently not. you know, See how even I take this stuff personally, and it's really not about me.
Right.
Oh, I think it is. I think it's all.
Well,
But because you have a message, it pertains to a lot of other people. And sometimes we don't think that what we have to say is important, only to figure out that other people are going through the same thing. We are all one. We are all connected somehow, even though some people don't believe that. We do have that thread of
Right.
commonality in there.
and we need each other.
We do.
Unless you're a skilled survivalist, you cannot exist by yourself, right?
And even then,
Even then,
a skilled survivalist will go crazy with only their own company.
Right.
It does have that too. It's like what you just said, Bobby. It is the universal law of oneness. We are all connected. There's no disconnecting from anything. We are all one.
I remember growing up being afraid to say things and tell people what I thought or explain stories or events or whatever, and my own emotional feelings, only to realize that everybody goes through the same thing. And to my amazement, people understood what I was going through and could actually help. Who knew?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Surprise.
Right. There's only so much you can really discover by yourself, but nice that you are the one that's learning it. But everyone else at some level has gone through much of what you've done and gone through.
Right. We've all experienced loss. We've all experienced heartache. We've all experienced joy and happiness and sadness and all of it. And so, yeah, even though the messages are coming through and it feels like they're telling your story, they're also telling other people's story.
Yeah. So, do you think, Steve, that you want to give a message today?
I don't know, guys. Do you have anything to say? I feel their presence, like they're here. I know you guys feel them too.
I do. And
they're here. It's the energy here in my apartment is very thick right now.
And we're
And it
hearing
doesn't-
bits and pieces not only of your guides, but of my guides and Bobby's guides too, because we're hearing them overlapping over our
Yes.
microphones.
Right.
So it's all of us together with our high vibrations and our guides that are making this a very interesting recording. So yeah.
So the boys just said to me, don't forget love. Should be the beginning of how you approach everything. And I think that for me, that's a personal message because that's been a hard thing for me to do in the recent past. And they're also saying like self-love, which is the biggest thing.
Yes.
We never love ourselves enough.
Yeah.
It's easy for us to love somebody else, but we don't think we're worthy of our own love.
Right. So if I had to ask them one question, and I think I know the answer, but I want to hear it. and I'm trying to ask this in a somewhat a spiritual, intelligent manner. The show that we do, the Breakfast with Bobbi, what are, should we continue to do this forever? Or what, can we have a prediction on that?
Well, they said you need to do it for a long time. You're not done with this.
Well, I would hope not.
There's more to be discovered. There's more guests to bring on. They're showing me like calendar of this is going on for at least a couple more years.
Oh boy. Hey.
Why is you should probably talk to me about this because I was expecting that.
You weren't expecting that?
I was expecting that.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
they're showing me a calendar. So I see calendars in my head when I do readings, and like this calendar is like showing me like 12 months, then another block of 12 months, and then it kind of fades out after that. So at least 2 years. I'm probably beyond 2 years from this point in time. I actually saw the calendars for 2025 and 2026. So I'm saying at least 2.5 years you're going to be doing this. And there might be times where you take breaks, and which is perfectly fine, they're saying. But
Which we've done. Yeah.
and they're saying that's perfectly fine. There probably will be some breaks in there. But they're saying, yes, you guys are going to find the energy and the momentum to do this and the guests to do this. And maybe the format may change a little bit. You might have like 3 people on here, or maybe 4 as regulars, having a discussion and maybe, entertaining, well, I can say this, like people writing you notes and saying, can you talk about this topic? Maybe inviting that. They're saying many possibilities, and you're going to see these things come up in the next 6 to 8 months. They already say 6 to 8 months, you're going to be thinking about change and new ideas. So by the end of the year and just beyond that, there's going to be a bunch of new ideas for you guys.
Wow.
So that's my message, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, I totally saw all of that.
They just said their message. Thank you.
Just a little reminder. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I never had any doubt that this was going to keep going because people love what we do.
Yeah, we've gotten some pretty good reviews, and
Mhm.
we've done some pretty high quality shows. So we have some very qualified, high quality people like yourself,
Including us.
including us.
Including you guys, yes. And thank you for the compliment.
Yeah.
You've certainly deserved that and honored. And wow, we're just, I can tell you that I'm just thrilled that
It's
you,
these guys.
it's not all them.
We're a team. We're a team.
Yes,
Right.
I understand. Yeah.
Right.
I do want to share one little story with them. And I was out with Joja Pa at the Lionsden Gorge. I don't know if you've ever been there.
Yes. You and I were there together.
Yes,
I have a
yes.
picture of that.
Remember the spot where this tree where no growth on the ground is there? And there's this one tree where the bark is almost off of it because people hang on it. But you can only sit there for like 20 minutes because the earth energy gets you so buzzed you have to walk away.
Yes.
Jojo Pa and I were sitting at that bench because we had walked through there during one of my lessons. And we were sitting there and we could hear the traffic from the freeway in the distance. And we were just being quiet. And all of a sudden the boys started talking to me and they said, "We are one." And I'm like, okay, I get that. We're one. Like, I'm thinking all humanity, we're one. So as Jojo Pa and I decided to walk away, we were walking away in silence. And I said, the boys said the weirdest thing to me while we were sitting there. And she goes, which was? And they said, "We are one." And I said, "I know we're one. But we're one. We're one with the earth. We're one with each other." And she goes, "No." She's saying the 3 of you are one. The 3 of you are a team. You work together now. You're not separate. So when you guys work with your team, remember that as well. You are one with them.
Absolutely.
Not separate.
Absolutely. I
profound
couldn't
message.
agree more.
It was.
Thank
I mean,
you
it was
for
the
that
simplest
message.
thing. It was the simplest thing, and I was clueless as to what they were telling me.
Hmm.
It was 3 words.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be multitudes of words and endless paragraphs. Sometimes we get messages that are so simple, and we want to make things complicated.
In your head. We're always in our head.
Yes, that's what our mind does, makes it complicated. It doesn't have to be.
Right.
That's why getting grounded, it can be so easy. It's just like, where am I? I'm safe right where I am. I have everything I need.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Kristina, I think we're rounding out our time, correct?
We kind of are, yeah. So a couple reminders for people: hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, like, share with your friends. Let's keep this going. You know, because we have a couple of years to do this. Let's do something with it, right? So, and also, Breakfast with Bobbi mugs. We have them. If you want one, let us know. I have to get better at reading the comments on YouTube because sometimes I don't remember to go back and do that. But I just want to thank you, Steve, for joining us, especially on short notice.
Thank you. It was a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you. And Bobbi, she comes up with some of the best guests. She's amazing. So, and just for being you as well, because you're still downplaying who you are.
I agree.
And you're pretty amazing in your own right. And so I just wanted to tell you that too. There is no reason to downplay who you are. And that is a message for you and for everybody, whoever listens to this broadcast.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. You both are amazing. And Steve, get back out there. Get back out there. That's why they're calling you.
I have a big house thing this weekend.
Perfect.
Awesome.
So yeah,
awesome.
It'll be amazing.
We are all worthy.
Yes, we are. For anyone who is interested, I will be in Hayward at the Seven Winds Casino. Well, actually, by the time this broadcast airs, it will be over with. But I will have been out there doing my thing. So looking forward to that. And anything else that anyone has coming up that you want to promote? Steve, how do people get a hold of you if they want a reading?
Go to angelboyz.com, which is
Angel Boyz is with a Z, right?
Angel Boyz with a Z, one word, .com. You'll find my phone number there. Text me. It's the best way to get a hold of me. Just say, I saw you, or I found your page. There's also a link to do a reading on the website. Don't use that. Don't use that. I need to have it removed, and it hasn't been. So I'm just saying, don't use that. Just text me, or you can email me. My email is also on the website.
Excellent. Excellent. And if you would like to have a reading with me, a psychic reading, an Akashic Records reading, a past life regression, you can reach me on my website at kristinabloom.com. And I actually do have a page where you can go in and, request an appointment time. That will send me an email. I will email you back because I do not have regular office hours. So there you go.
Thank you all for coming this week. We've enjoyed talking and just shooting the breeze with our friend Steve, and look forward to more time and more guests apparently for the next 2.5 years. So we better get going.
Awesome.
Gotta make a list.
Thank you, Kristina. Thank you, Bobbi.
You're welcome.
Steve. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a great rest of your week.
Take care, everyone. We look forward to you coming back.